Good evening. Thank you very much for allowing the African Diaspora and Returnee Association to have this conference today. My name is Jeanette. I'm the Secretary of the Diaspora and Returnee Association.
And I'm the Media Coordinator, also qualified nurse.
I'm Shakina Chinadu, and I'm Head of Legal in the African Diaspora Returnees Association.
Who is the African Diaspora Returnee Association? Abbreviated ADRA. ADRA is a registered association with 7 highly skilled and experienced board members. Although running for many years, it was formally established in 2018 and sits on the shoulder of the original Homecomers Group, which was the first group to lobby for citizenship in around 2005 to 2006. ADRA is grateful for the efforts of the Homecomers Group, which led to some successes when some members gained citizenship. As some members of ADRA were members of the Homecomers Group, we feel very qualified to assist with the diaspora from all over the globe who wants to return home. ADRA is a professional association with high standards and work within the confines of the law to assist our people.
Why do we need ADRA? ADRA was set up to support returnees, both here and abroad, creating a smooth bridge of repatriation for those that have experience in residing in this country, establishing businesses, building homes, and assisting in charitable ways. ADRA also works closely with AGA Tours, who have been encouraging and organizing trips to the Gambia for those that want to find out more about Africa. Our UK office and staff support returnees by offering them first-hand information when crossing the bridge. We recognize that through experience, both good and challenging, that others need information and support based on our experience, information such as residency, taxation, setting up businesses, as well as purchasing land that is clean and free of issues. And returnees are given important assistance as required. ADRA has been extremely successful in meeting its aims and objectives over the year.
The second aim of ADRA is lobbying for citizenship. Again, on the back of the Homecomers Group, we were successful to receive 10 citizenships at the Root Festival, Homecoming Festival, around 2010-11, under the previous administration. However, we realised that legally, this type of executive order was not sustainable and decided to work within the CRC by presenting and suggestion of an exceptional clause for descendants of the enslaved. This clause, which was prepared by our legal section, Nubian L Consultants, and drafted by our lawyer, Shakina Chinadu, the clause working within the current law of the Gambia for naturalisation of 15 years to suggest a fast-track citizenship of 2 to 4 years after continuous residency so that any necessary checks can be carried out in accordance with the law. The clause is not only legal, but also will support future generations wishing to return home. ADRA is extremely grateful to the CRC, who not only gave us the platform to present to them in 2018, which was filmed for future generations to see our efforts, but also to support our suggestion by including it in this booklet in section 188, which would have been presented to the National Assembly for debate. Now, it's important to recognise that this clause that we've asked for is to reduce the 15 years. As you can imagine, 15 years is a long time. And when we come here as returnees and we have to wait 15 years, that could be quite long for some people who might be in their 50s and 60s. So what we suggested was a shorter time period to capture those people who are already of a certain age, but also recognising that when we come here and we're contributing economically to the country, that should be recognised quicker than 15 years. But as I said, working within the confines of the law, we thought, well, reduce it from 15, maybe 2 to 4 years, so that the necessary checks can be done, as is in the Constitution. You know, we don't just expect to come and ask for something without giving something back. And we have been doing that for many, many years. You know, we've been here quite a while, but people have been here before us, and they have contributed. And all we're saying is that 15 years is too long for people that originated from Africa, so why not reduce it? And we'll work within that, but also we'll do our part. We will learn the language, we will learn the nuances, we will become part of Gambian society and civil citizens of Gambia to show that we're doing our part as well. And that's why we presented to the CRC the exceptional clause, which we are extremely grateful for them to present it in that booklet, which would have gone to Parliament during the draft constitution debates.
It has been a very long and hard 2 years of continuous work for the Adra, lobbying, as Shakina is saying, for citizenship. But we feel very privileged that we've achieved so much for the benefit of our members. Of course, we're very disappointed that the draft constitution was rejected by the National Assembly, but we will continue with our own strategy to gain citizenship without having to wait for 15 years. With support and encouragement from ADRA, returnees are bringing valuable skills, economic strength to contribute to the development of the GBT to Gambia. This is across age lines and with full spectrum of global diasporan community. We're also very happy to welcome new members with transferable skills to assist with the development of Gambia. ADRA is aiming to be a beacon within the West Africa and willing to work with other groups who will work towards the same strategy that we'll have to set out over the years.
ADRA would like to thank Gambia for welcoming our return home, but appealing for more collaborative working between returnees and the citizens of the Gambia. We'd like to thank Chestnut Apartments and Restaurants for the use of their venue, and thank for the media also. Thanks.
Thank you for the press conference, and I will thank you first of all, three of us, for letting us to know ADRA, your mission, your objectives, and your aims. Recently, there is a controversy happening in the country because the draft constitution has been passed to the parliament, and then parliamentarians have voted. We need to have a quorum, but they fail to have. So there are many issues that people are not comfortable with in the constitution, and I'm happy that we are going to the issue of these 15 years for one to get citizenship. It is not logical at all. You see, not many of us had the opportunity to get a copy of the draft constitution and go over it. Just few of us had the opportunity. So now, do you have any other option in mind to bring before the parliamentarians or the Minister of Justice for them to reconsider bringing back this draft constitution to the table at the National Assembly? Any option?
We are working on a strategy. We are working on a strategy right now. We don't want to reveal too much just yet, but we are going back to the drawing board. As I said, we're very grateful that we had something in there, and we don't want to throw that out, you know, as though it's failed, because it hasn't failed. It just needs reconnecting. So we have to re-strategize now and look at another option in where we can really get that under the noses of the National Assembly and the President and the Justice Minister. But all is not lost, I don't believe that.
Yeah, because today, let me make a follow-up. Today I saw an information that talks about the Minister of Justice, saying that they are trying to resurrect the draft constitution. So
Yes.
I was wondering in my mind, how would you try to resurrect? Because voting has already been done.
Yes.
So this is what I asked the chairman of the CRC last press conference, that if there is any option to bring back the
Yes.
draft, because I know there will be provisions that may not be favorable, because this for the 15 years is not favorable at all. You don't go to any country in Africa that will ask you to go for 15 years that is not. So if I had the copy of this, I would have been raising this on the radio long time. But because we are not giving the copy, so you see the problem.
Yes.
So now the minister is saying they are trying to resurrect the draft constitution. How would they try to do that?
I think what Adra would say is that for the draft constitution to reject the whole thing was a mistake. I think what they could have done is reject parts that they didn't agree with and revise that. But to reject the whole thing, I think there's two issues. First, it's a waste of resources. There's a lot of resources over the 2 years that the CRC has worked on this, had to go abroad to speak to Gambian diasporans. That took a lot of money. I mean, it's $116 million. That's a lot of money for a small country. So do we just throw that out? Or do we just go back and say, well, maybe there's just a few sections we didn't like or didn't understand. Can we talk about that? So I think it's a mistake to reject the whole constitution rather just than the sections they didn't understand or agree with. Because there will always be sections we don't agree with, as parliamentarians, but you don't throw it out like that. I think, and I think that's a letdown for the Gambian people as well, because the Gambian people were very much involved in this. There was at least 10 consultation meetings around the country. People took time to attend and gave their submissions. We can't just throw that out. I think it's when we talk about democracy, it's about giving people the opportunity to voice their concerns. But by rejecting this in its entirety like that is a mistake, and it's an affront to the Gambian people. What does that say about taking time to ask for feedback and then you don't do anything with that feedback? I think it's a grave mistake.
I wanted to know how many members in your association, and then if you can expound how disappointed you were when you got the news that the draft constitution has been thrown in the dustbin.
We've got hundreds. We haven't actually got the complete numbers, but we have 7 registered board members and hundreds of other members that within. So we were completely.
Hundreds, I may say 900 or 20,000.
Maybe it's about 300, I would say. Yeah, about 300 and counting. No, some are resident, some are here, some are abroad. There's some in the UK, some in the Caribbean, some in America, and obviously some are here.
Get their citizenship as
Well, yes, yeah, obviously when they come, because obviously, lots of particularly returnees, they want passionately to return back to Africa. So honestly, they're considering Gambia. So yes, who wants to come back to Gambia? Come back to home, basically.
So
Yeah.
I'd like to know when you heard that news that the draft has been rejected, what was your reaction?
Well, like most people who are putting so much work, essentially, and not just us, as Shakina is saying, that the people of Gambia, and plus all the money, all the finances, bitterly disappointed, devastated, and we couldn't believe it, to be perfectly honest. And we hope, as Shakina is saying, that that they would reconsider. I mean, as any draft, there might be sections that they don't agree with, which they could have tweaked and adjusted and amended. So we were devastated, very disappointed.
If I may just add, what is going to be your next move now?
Well, our next move is to basically strategize. We can't say right now exactly what, or we won't say right now what it is, but we need to strategize and go back to the drawing board, essentially, and then take it forward.
And continue engaging the government?
Sorry?
And continue engaging the government?
Of course. Yes, of course. Yes.
Yeah, I want to comment. My question might be one, but it's pregnant question. That is, I want to know how many organizations the diasporans have in the Gambia. Because there is a section that is claiming automatic citizenship. And many people in the Gambia are saying if that is to happen, most of the unfortunate or less privileged people will suffer in the hands of the diasporans. Because they have the wealth, They have everything in hand. So if they have citizenship, automatic citizenship with the Gambians, it will be very difficult because they will possess all the properties in the Gambia, according to some narratives. Okay. Others also believe the automatic citizenship can be done. If you go to other countries, like in America or in the UK, you have people who came from everywhere in Africa. When they give back to Europe, they are automatic citizenship of that particular area. So there, I want to ask whether, it's possible for the diasporans to have one organization that will be, fighting for their cause. Because the demand towards the CRC is high, but you have conflicting, demands, interests in CRC. So we don't know which one is to be put in the Constitution. Now, the second question is, did diaspora or did foreign powers, I can say, or foreign representatives, do they have any influence in the democratization of this country? Because we have seen when the Constitution is about to be passed in the Parliament, a statement came from EU, and US, and UK, like demanding for the National Assembly to approve the Constitution. So how is your person? Is it allowed for a foreign national to participate in the democratization of a sovereign independent state? That is the second one. So I think I can rest my case there.
What's happening here now is that we feel as though we've come home and we feel as though we're facing the same alienation because we have to carry aliens cards. And we have to pay $3,000 a year to carry aliens cards and residency papers. And that's quite hurtful, especially when you're very proud of who you are, but you come home and it's the saying is, and it's in your issues paper, in your review commission paper, that if you marry a Gambian, after 7 years you can apply for citizenship, or if you're not married, it's 15 years. Now I'll be 70 years old in 15 years' time. I cannot wait that long to be proud to say, I'm an African. I cannot. That's too long. So what I'm appealing to today is that, I propose that we have an exception clause in the new constitution. And I propose that this clause is generational, that my children and my children's children shouldn't have to stand here like I am today and appeal to the government again at some space in time, but that it should be written into the fabric of our legislation that we, the descendants of the enslaved, are coming home and that we should be welcomed home for that very reason. We propose that the recognition is just for the descendants of the enslaved only, because we are a peculiar people, and that's how we want to be recognised. We propose that a fast-track application process for citizenship are for those descendants. And we propose a timescale of between 2 and 4 years after continuous residency in Gambia. Now that's a vast difference to the 15 years, but also that will really encourage people to come home and invest in Gambia if they knew that within 4 years maximum that they will get citizenship, they'll be able to vote, they'll be able to maybe be members of parliament, but they will be part and parcel of the fabric. Okay. Let me address your first question, if I can remember it. First of all, I would agree there should only be one group, but such is the nature of human beings, and sometimes people want to go left and sometimes people want to go right. Adra, as I said, has been going for many years, and we are very clear that we are following the legal route. Automatic citizenship is more about an executive order, possibly. Now, if you understand anything about that, when the executive order is given, when the president is gone, the executive order is gone too. Now, I would say that even with those that got some citizenship under the previous administration, I have heard people have come to me and said they're now finding trouble to renew their papers because it wasn't registered. Now, the difference with Adra, we are asking for it to be in law, so that anybody coming behind us can quote the section in the law to say we are entitled to citizenship. And we're not asking for automatic, we're asking for a fast track. So rather than 15 years, we're saying we'll work with you in Gambia, let's reduce it. Now, before we came to that exceptional clause, we did research across the whole of Africa. We looked at all the constitutions in Africa. Citizenship for naturalisation range between 5 and 20 years. So some are more than us, some are less. What we did realise is that none of them talked about descendants of the enslaved. Liberia is the only one that came close, which said any citizen should be of African descent. But that didn't go far enough. Now, people might also think that Ghana, during the year of return, gave citizenship automatically. That wasn't the case. People had applied for that a few years before. They just gave them the citizenship during the year of return, which I suppose is a political act to get more people to come. And Ghana did very well out of that year of return. I'm not knocking them, I think they did very well, and I wish other countries would do that to encourage Africans to return home. But I think the difference between Adra and other groups here is that we are following the law, and that's why we work very closely with the CRC. As you know, all the commissioners from the CRC are lawyers, so we take advice from them. And as I said, with our own research, we realise that the best way to get citizenship is to put it in law, because when we're not here one day, our children and our children's children may want citizenship. They can get it through the Constitution or any Nationality Act, because, you know, for them to be citizens, get their passport, etc., it has to be part of the Nationality Act. So that's why we're working the way that we work. So we would welcome any group to work with us, but they have to work with our strategy, which is through the law, the legal process. And that's the only way that Adra's willing to work, through the legal process. Yeah? Your second question. Most of the members in Adra are Pan-African. We're Garveyites. We believe that Africans are self-sufficient, self-reliant. How dare Europeans, Americans and other people tell us how to run our business? Do you think you could go to America and tell Donald Trump how to run America? So why should other people tell us in Africa how to run our business? We have to work it out for ourselves. Whether we get it right or wrong, that's our business. It's not for anybody else to say. So, yes, they can say, you should adopt this, you should adopt that. They have their own issues to sort out. Leave us to sort out our issues. So thank you, but no thank you. We don't need your assistance. We will sort out our own issues in Gambia and in Africa worldwide.
Thank you very much for organizing this press conference. I am Mr. Barnes, working with this person. The only thing I want to know is, because now the Constitution, the draft Constitution has already indicated 15 years, and 15 years is getting too long. You see. So do you have any plan to go back and sit with your people, discuss briefly about this issue, to find a solution?
You know, we've got to find out if there are other strategies that's open to us. Remember, because we're not citizens here, we have to find out what doors are open to us. So that's what we'd have to go back and strategize now. And we have people in Gambia that support us very well, and we'll be taking advice from them about, you know, where we can go from here on. So that's all we can say at the moment. But it's definitely a time to re-strategize now, but all is not lost.
Yes. Come back. We'll make it an interactive press conference. So, you see, I don't want to blame the CRC. You've been in the country working with the CRC for quite some time?
Yes.
So you see, one of the mistakes that the CRC done on their part is that all of you guys should have been invited at the parliament during the voting of this staff. You see, do you see where the problem lies?
I do.
Because I told the chairman last time that each and every commissioners that works on the draft constitution, they provide. You people are technical assistants, you were assisting them technically. You should have also been there to at least to advocate and persuade the parliamentarians to understand
Yes.
the need and the importance of passing this bill. So if that does not happen, of course they will not understand. Most of them are just below us, even me, below me.
Yes.
When it comes to academical performance and stuff, they don't understand the English that you are speaking about. You see what I mean?
I understand.
So this has created a problem. And now, to retable the same bill at the parliament, I want to see where the option is going to come from. That's what I want to know, so that I can, go to this program and then tell people in our own languages.
You want to ask?
Yes, you want to ask. So, was there any need for you to be at the parliament?
Adra did write a letter to the Speaker of the House asking. Adra did write a letter to the Speaker of the House asking for an audience, but we didn't get a reply. So that was disappointing in itself, because you're right, we wanted to be part of any discussion, any part of the lobbying, to really press why the 15 years is too long. And I have to make this known that we as diasporans coming home, we have to carry what we call aliens cards. You hear the word, aliens cards. Can you imagine how hurtful that is to an African, somebody who knows they're African, coming home to an African country and being called an alien? And the cost each year is between $3,000 and $5,000. That's what we have to pay. So imagine paying that for 15 years. That's a lot in itself, compared to all the other contributions we're making in the country. Why, with people that look like us, are we treated this way? Why? That's the question we'd want to know. I could go on and say other people who don't look like us are treated differently, and you know what I'm talking about. But why people that look like us? We all look the same, but I'm not treated like you. We're not treated like you. That needs to be investigated. What's the mindset? Why, when we come home, we have to be fighting for citizenship like this? I'm not saying we should just come off the plane and get it, but there should have been a conversation decades ago to encourage Africans to return home. It wasn't our fault that we weren't born here, but it is by choice that we are returning home. And that should be gratitude in itself. So I think you're right. We should have been invited. We should have been part of that process. But I wouldn't blame the CRC. We are very grateful to the CRC. When we went with that exceptional clauses, they could have said, thank you, we heard you, but no thank you. But they didn't. They supported what we suggested immediately. And up to this day, they're still very supportive of Adra. So I have nothing but admiration, and my colleagues would say the same, for the CRC. They have been very supportive of us. They've done everything they can to get this exceptional clause under the nose of the Assembly House. We cannot ask for more than that. That's historic in itself. Because, when you look at, as I said, over the decades we've been coming home, there's no other country in Africa that have got as far as we have. So we can't be ungrateful for that, but we need to go further. And when we said that we want Gambia to be the beacon in West Africa, as the smallest country, it's very easy to be done, and this could have been their chance to do it. They haven't lost that chance, but they need to think quickly, because other countries in Africa will be watching this, and they might act upon what we've suggested before Gambia, and Gambia would have lost their first place. And they were first place, because nobody else has this that's going to Parliament. So let's hope that they will revise this and do something else to bring it back. Maybe go back to the people. Talk to the people of Gambia. What do the people of Gambia want? It's their constitution. It doesn't belong to Parliament. It belongs to Gambia. So let's talk to the people it belongs to. Maybe that's the way forward.
That you have been blocked, to get automatic citizenships, and then you are subjected to payments of how you feel about them after living in the country for some years. That is what I wanted to, and I think part of that has been. If there is, another thing that I may like to ask is that, what would you, like to see government doing as far as this your issues are concerned?
I think for government to do something is to sit down and have dialogue with us. They won't know unless they sit and talk to us. And I think what we're asking for is a voice in this country. We are a minority group here, if you want to call us that, but we don't need to be. And maybe if the government sat and spoke to us, returnees, they will find that we're no different to even citizens of Gambia in terms of what we want. We want development, we want infrastructure, we want to see young people with jobs, we want to see the country develop, no different to what Gambians want. So why separate us? Why not join together, put our heads together, put our skills together, put our finances, our economics together? We all know about the GDP of each country, the gross domestic product. As Africans, if we put our resources together, we can raise that. We don't need loans and, charities. We can do this ourselves, but we have to come together and strategize together and say, what is it we want? We can fix our roads. We can put electricity. We can provide clean water. We can do that ourselves rather than waiting for somebody else to do it for us. But if we don't collaborate and talk with each other, that won't happen, because other people always see that division and come in and offer something, the sweeteners, and we'll take that and we'll be left on the side just saying, okay, well, we can't do it because we're African, but other people do it for us. As I said, we can't go to Europe and tell them how to run their business. Why should we allow other people through our door and tell them, allow them to do that? So I think it's the same thing. We have to collaborate and talk about what's best for Africa, for Africans.
Okay. Yeah, I have a follow-up question to Mr. Kela Al-Sumani, what he said. I want to know how far have you gone in consulting with the High Command of the land? When I said I mean the President and those in the, or the minister responsible for your affairs. How far have you gone to them? Because they are the one that can sort you people out. They are in the authority. So now, after that, I want to know whether if you are given citizenship, you will be willing to go to the local people and interact with them. In as much as you claim to be an African, when you cannot speak any African language, it will be very difficult to mingle and harmonize with people. So how do you intend to go?
We currently mingle, as you say. We currently interact with the local people. Yes, we've started to learn language, and we plan to continue to learn different languages, Wolof, Mandingo. But we don't, even though we live in Gambia, and we interact with the local people, we don't actually hold ourselves outside, away from them. And we continue to do that. We plan to continue to do that.
Yes, second question. About the interaction with the command authorities.
Oh, yes, the authorities.
What we would say is, don't think they don't know about us. Don't think they haven't heard our voice. But they haven't reached out to us. We've reached out in many ways, but haven't got a response. We don't know why they're not reaching out, to us, but don't think they don't know.
How did you reach to them?
We've written.
You wrote a letter or you communicated?
We've written. We've spoken to people that are close to them, that know what we want, and could have, opened that door for us. We don't know the reason why. We don't know the reason, but rest assured that they do know about us. The government know everything. They hear everything through the grapevine. So they know about everything. So we're hoping now that maybe through press conferences like this, they may reach out to us, or maybe it's another opportunity for us to reach out to them again now that we've done this. And as I said, that's part of the re-strategizing.
I want to say I live around local people. I live in a village. I'm the only diasporan there. So I live with the local people. I live in Jambo.
Jambo.
Yes. So I'm the
Jambo
only.
is a town.
Yes, well, it's a big town, but I live in yes. So I only live around local people, and they do come to my door when they need, when they need advice, because I'm a nurse, so they come when they need health advice, little small stuff. I do go to my neighbors at times when they need me, when I need them. You know, we do, interact with each other really. So that's my answer to that question. Yeah.
I mean, I see the Gambian. There are people. We are exactly the same people. Yes, unfortunately, we when we were taken away, we'd lost our language.
Yes.
But I don't see, that the greatest joy. Actually, we were saying that today coming. The greatest joy is to be amongst a sea of black people, their own people. Unless you open your mouth, you wouldn't know that they're different. That you're Gambian and we were Jamaican or what have you. We don't see ourselves as different, and we hope that the Gambians don't see us as different. But obviously there's the language, which we'll continue to learn, and the culture, which is not that dissimilar to some extent, really. Some of the things that we used to do when we were children, growing up, it's just exactly the same that the Gambians do. So a lot of the culture are the same. A lot of it's the same. So we don't see ourselves as different, that different, because basically we started from here, and we're returning back here, and a lot of and all returnees, hence the name, that's how they feel. Otherwise, we would have stayed where we were, where that's not where we were, even if we were born there, but we don't feel welcome there. But we feel welcome and we feel at home, actually, here in the Gambia and other parts of Africa, but we're in Gambia. So, so we do feel connected. We feel a connection. We don't feel alien, despite the alien card. So we hope that we won't have to endure alien card for 15 years.
Okay, that's fine. So before we conclude, I want to know how prepared. But I went there to make a brief history about Kentucky. But what they told me, they are really, I don't know how to, which adjective should I use, Kevin? No, they are not very much happy with the present condition of this government, and also some of the relatives, because you also are part of it. So I think it will be also important for you to visit them, and then you have discussion with them. So from there, I believe, and I have this notion, the government, the president will call you for a meeting. I believe. Yeah, because you have to show ownership of the place you own. Not to go there as a visitor, but go there as a family. So if you go there solely, I know your dreams will achieve. Yeah. Thank you.
Can we also say that part of Adra is putting on events each year? We usually do that round about 20-something of September. We weren't able to do it this year because of COVID. But for the last 2 years, we've had an event called Crossing Continents. Now, the first year, we put on an event to show our similarities through dance, music, poetry, etc. Very well attended, very successful. Last year, what we did was the door of return. The business that I run, Nubian L Consultants, as we mentioned before, ensures that diasporans buy land cleanly, without issues, project manage their buildings, etc., to make sure their houses are built appropriately. We blessed the first plot of land that we have bought for diasporans, and our ancestors left through the door of no return, but we had a ceremony to invite our ancestors back through the door of return. And that was really significant. So, you know, talking about Kunta Kinte Island, we wanted to make some significance about our forefathers that left before us, taken away before us, to invite them back home now that we're home, and do that through the door of return. Again, that was a very successful event, a very emotional event, where we honoured those ancestors that were forcibly removed from Africa, but told them that we have returned through, you know, through our DNA. They are returning also, and we will continue to do events each year, and that included diasporans and Gambians alike. And each year, Crossing Continents will be a collaboration of Gambians and diasporans. To whatever we're going to do together, we will show that collaboration.
Last question. I have not read about. I did not have the opportunity to go through, but we will use this information for next show, advocating our older days. It is going to help a lot. But how do they treat the issue of marriage to enable to get your citizenship in the town?
The issue of marriage, in the 1997 Constitution, you have to be married for 7 years and living here continuously. The new draft Constitution advocated 5 years and continuous residence. So they dropped it by 2 years, again, which was welcomed. But with the naturalisation, there was no budge on that. But at least, as I said, the recommendation was there to look at fast-track citizenship.
So we will emphasize on the naturalization.
Yeah. So we will also invite you to a program.
Yeah.
Also.
On the road here, so.
So we will make sure you achieve